Hey allies, it's Tom and Daniel. We're back to talk some more wrestling with you. In the future, we're going to do different topics. We're not only going to do wrestling, but right now we're kind of on a wrestling kick. The idea behind this show was to kind of bring the conversations that we have at the comic book store to you. We've thought over and over again, hey, this is kind of interesting, make for a good podcast or whatever. So we're trying something different. We hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned at the end. Delaney's going to come on with some information for you. And right now, tonight, what we're going to talk about is the top professional wrestling tag teams. It's not necessarily going to stick to the WWE, like the Intercontinental Championship did in our first video. In this one, they can be in any professional organization. So we're going to kick that off. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Daniel. Who is the first team you want to bring up?
I think the first team I want to bring up is the APA or the Acolytes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. To me, they were quintessential in the end of the Attitude Era into the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression Era. They beat the crap out of people.
Oh, yeah.
Just brutalized people. But then they transformed into this great dynamic of both of them getting these good performances from each, and growing in the character.
Mm-hmm.
I think with Bradshaw, it definitely led into the JBL character, from where they're sitting beating up people for money, and then they're sitting playing poker, and now you're starting to move into this heelish role. Same with Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons was on his decline, unfortunately, but still, it left off to the damn. And I think the APA, to me, is, I don't know, there's just something about them that makes them say, hey, you know what, we were a big part of the Attitude Era, and they made an impact on me.
I didn't even consider them. I did think about them, and I kind of dismissed them. I didn't like their gimmick when it started. It's probably one of my least favorite Undertaker gimmicks is when he's in the whole Dark Lord phase or whatever, and there's acolytes and everything. And I don't think JBL really rose until he became JBL. Ron Simmons is Ron Simmons, great wrestler, and as the gimmick evolved, yeah, it was better, but I didn't consider them. So, I'll just kick it off with a really strong one. Edge and Christian. They're, it's amazing that guys can meet each other at 10 years old and have the same goal and work together in independence and split apart and come back and do all that and end up in the WWE. And then, there's going to be 3 tag teams, and I'll go ahead and mention them. It's Edge and Christian, Doubly Boys, and the Hardy Boys. And that whole program that they worked was just amazing. Some of the best tag team wrestling ever, in my opinion. And the fact that Edge and Christian, when they did split, they were able to take that momentum that they got, because they didn't, when they came in as the Flock, or not Flock, the Brood. The Brood. They weren't really working for me then. I didn't get into that whole gimmick either. I'm not real big on the supernatural gimmicks anyway. But when they got that's the first time they got to really show their personalities. And when they split, they were able to really get to the next level because of what they did. And it's almost like it gave them a lot more credibility and stuff. It was a great launching pad for the two of them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. ENC's on my list. A lot of the stuff they did with Kurt Angle needs to be mentioned, because Team Eck was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes, it was comedy, but it was done in such an amazing way that it made you hate them. I mean, just absolutely hate them, to the point of turning around and loving them, because it was so classic. It was so funny. You could go back and go, that's kind of funny. I'm not from Kentucky, but when you come out with teeth that are as jagged and you're playing a washboard, yeah, definitely. ENC's up there, for sure. My next one is SCU. It's a modern day tag team of Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Both were in TNA and started in the X division, and they kind of grew into a team, and that has stayed a team. They're both tremendous athletes. I think they're both really looked overpassed when it comes to talent, especially Christopher Daniels. He's an older, I think he's like 50.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember Christopher Daniels.
He premiered in WCW.
Yeah.
So I mean that tells you how long his longevity. They're still in AEW today, and still putting on phenomenal matches. Kaz or Frankie Kazarian, he's putting on better matches now than he ever was, and I think they're dynamic, and the feel of the matches is fun. It's a constant movement. Yes, you can see them kind of slowing down with age, but at the same time, SCU, they're on my top, or on my top 10, because they entertain me.
Gotcha. My next is the Von Erichs. I grew up watching, the family business down in Texas. It's what WCCW, I think is the name of the program. I can't remember. Worldwide Championship Wrestling, anyway. I'm sorry, I don't remember the acronym, but I do remember the wrestling, and they worked mostly, they didn't work exclusively with the Freebirds, but the matches that they had with the Freebirds, I'll get to the Freebirds, they're going to be on my list too, but the Von Erichs were just so deep, so many different ways, whether they were doing the 3-man tags, or the 2-man tag teams. It worked either way. There was a nice mix of athleticism and physicality, and they're just they are one of the top in the 80s, and I think top all time tag teams was the Von Erichs.
My next team is going to be a very underrated team again. Going to my childhood, Chronic.
Okay.
So Brian Clark, Brian Adams, formerly Atom Bomb, formerly Crush. I mean, they went by a lot of different names.
Mm-hmm.
They actually got together in WCW in, I think it was 99 or early 2000. They had quite a decent run. Their matches are great. I mean, for being two big dudes, they were entertaining. They didn't necessarily have the personality that I think, or it didn't come across, let's put it that way. Brian Adams to me was a great personality. Brian Clark kind of lacked, and you can see that through his career. But when you put them together and you got these big intense matches of two giant dudes beating the crap out of somebody, as a kid I'm like, that's awesome. Fast forward to them going to WWE, they get stuck with Steven Richards as a mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Definitely cool, because I like Steven Richards. I think he's a very good mouthpiece.
Oh.
I think actually he's a better mouthpiece than he was a wrestler.
Probably.
But there's a charm about him, and he gave that charm to Chronic. Yeah, you hated them. They were heels most of the time. But there's nothing better than watching two close to 7-foot dudes whoop some tush.
Oh, yeah.
So.
My next is British Bulldogs, the Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy Smith. They worked across so many different platforms again, companies, and I don't know, as we're doing these lists and stuff, I didn't realize what a fan I am of the wrestlers that came from Stu Hart, and two great Canadian wrestlers, again, worked some great programs and everywhere that they worked, and again, I don't think you take anything away from them. It's tragic how it ended up for them, but at the same time, they are, in my opinion, one of the greats.
Next, I keep sticking with modern day wrestling because that's where my heart is. The Motor City Machine Guns. Alex Shelley and Chris Saban. Again, a TNA team that really sneak under the radar. Both of them are phenomenal cruiserweights. They work very well together. Alex Shelley is one of the best mouthpieces in a tag team in TNA. Dude could just, you fell in love with him. and he brought Chris Saban out of this kind of slump. I won't even say the slump, but he just didn't have that charisma that popped that Alex Shelley did. And put them together as a team. They did some stuff with Kevin Nash that is just absolutely hilarious. If you haven't seen it, especially Alex Shelley, it's funny.
Yeah.
But as of that saying, that was 2003, 2004, somewhere in there that they got together. They're still tagging today. They both, I think, retired and have come back as of a couple months ago, and it's cool to see a team like that still going. They were just impressionable on me.
Yeah. I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
but you know, my next is Fabulous Freebirds. You know, they worked almost exclusively like that whole Texas wrestling was the Von Erichs and Fabulous Freebirds. You can't hardly mention one without the other because they just work so many. They work so well, and they were broadcasting every week, and you were always going to see the Von Erichs in some form of the brothers, whether it's 3-2, and whether it's David or Kerry or Mike or whoever. They're going to constantly keep mixing that up. You're going to have Terry Gordy, PSA, and the third guy, Buddy. Anyway, and they made it compelling. You didn't see the same match every week like you did with other teams when they would come out who didn't have anything else to do, who were kind of like one-trick ponies. The ring psychology, everything worked really well with the chemistry between both of those teams. But at the same time, they were just great heels, and what Michael Hayes has done since then, and the influence and the impact that he's had on the WWE since then, really says a lot, and also says a lot to why Fritz Von Erich also put a lot into Michael as well. He really rose there. So again, for me, there can't be a list without the Freebirds and the Von Erichs, but
which is a great transition to the modern day Freebirds, the New Day. Big E Langston, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods. They re-implemented the Freebird tag rule, so any two of the three can compete for the tag team titles in the match, which is really cool. Throwback to that.
Mm-hmm.
But their impact on tag team wrestling in the modern era is just huge. They're the longest reigning tag team champions, 483 days. They've held the titles, I think, a combined 10 times. The programs that they're putting on are really amazing, and especially in a shallow time, because they've been together for quite a while, so they had some lulls of not having teams to compete against, but yet still keeping those tag team titles compelling and making you go, oh, cool, and then to see them start competing with other teams against the Hardys or the new or the older people coming in and competing. Definitely cool. They're up there on my list just because I think they're great. I think they do a lot of stuff outside of wrestling with Xavier Woods and G4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a video game guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to gravitate towards that dude. So that's my next on the list.
Gotcha. Next on my list is Doubly Boys. And digging into them, I got to be honest. I mean, I love them in ECW. I got there towards the end of their run. I could not believe the promos that they were cutting. They took it to a whole nother level. They were super heels, and the way that they would attack the crowd, it was almost like an insult comic. I mean, Bubba Ray, when he would go at people, I mean, he was very funny off the top of the cuff. But I didn't realize that they've held 20 tag titles in their career. They've held titles in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, NWA, and IWCP, and were All Japan's World's Strongest Tag Determination League champions. I'm not the biggest fan of Devon. I think that like his whole thing when he would get hit in the head and flail his arms around, those corny things that he did over and over again. Bubba Ray had his too. He would do the the curly plop and all that stuff, and the stuttering and all the different iterations of it. But those guys worked very well, and they were the main guys to protect. And when we get to the whole Edge, Christian, and the Hardy Boys, they protected those guys a lot. They were the ones catching everybody. They were the guys that were making sure that nobody got really seriously hurt. They, in my opinion, naturally when you're taking the risks that all of them were taking, but I have a lot of respect for the fact that they were willing. They were the guys that were the foundation of that made that really possible, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm not big on gimmicks that go all the time, but I'll never get tired of Devon get the tables. And again, I think it really was because of Bubba Ray, and I think after they split, it kind of shows that as well, because he was able to run his Bully Ray and work a great program in TNA and do the things that he's done since then. But the Doubly Boys are right there.
Yeah, like you said, they held a lot of tag teams, ECW 8 times, WWE 9 times, TNA twice, and WCW once. That speaks huge. And I think their stuff in TNA is very underrated. As a tag team, Team 3D, definitely, I enjoy all of their stuff. Their WWE run is most memorable to me. Because they started to actually branch out, but when they got to TNA, they were stars.
Yeah,
they were there and could pull, and even brought in the younger guys with aces and eights. When they did that whole thing, that's what shot Bully Ray up, which was awesome. So I think if no list is without the Dudleys.
Oh,
I mean, absolutely. My next is Harlem Heat. Again, I'm a big WCW fan.
Right.
But even if I wasn't, I think looking back and going, and this is looking back, I look at the star Booker T became. Stevie Ray, kind of floundered, but the stuff they did together, and with some of the people they did it with the Colonel, with Jacqueline, Sensational Sherry, they had some great managers, and I think that's part of what Harlem Heat is. They were starting to learn and starting to get going with the promo stuff, and they had some slips and stuff that obviously are very funny. Very famous. But their stuff in the ring, they were smooth. I mean, probably one of my favorite tag teams to watch. Just straight matches, no sound. You can sit and watch a Harlem Heat match against the Steiners any day of the week. Is amazing. And like I said, now you got Booker T. He's just great. He was a great wrestler, lean, moved. WCW saw that he had potential, and that's why he was world champion. And I think that he brought a lot to Harlem Heat. And
next, I got I don't think you can have a tag team list without the Road Warriors. The longevity, the fact that there's a great documentary on them. Out there that really kind of explains the whole thing. They were basically two bodybuilders trying to figure out how to make money, and they just kind of fell into wrestling. And the way they just kept innovating their look, kept innovating their abilities, they brought a whole new look to contemporary wrestling that had never been there before. And like I said, they would just throw things on their costumes and just went crazy. And eventually became excellent workers. They worked in AWA, NWA, WCW, and WWF. And again, they got to be there.
Putting this personally, I don't think so.
Really?
I'm not. But to me, when you say the Road Warriors, I also think of LOD.
Legion of Doom. I do too. I mean,
and that's the bad part. And Legion of Doom 2000 or whatever the hell they call them. It's hard for me to not see that and go, oh, this is crazy, because that was my first first
seeing them.
Thank you. First seeing them, and to me, it was just they were stiff and didn't work well. I mean, but they were older. And that stuck in my head, and every time I watched a match back, it was like, oh, okay, there's these guys that do that. So it left a bad taste in my mouth, but
that's
totally personal.
No, that's fair.
So That's why I just can't seem to grab them and go, you know what, and sure, they're legendary. The look is legendary. But to me, they're just not. I mean, but the next one is, I think, super, super legendary, is the New Age Outlaws.
Oh, yeah.
Again, that was the prime time of wrestling. I think that there won't be another era of what the Attitude Era was. They were a great mix of a dude who could work in Billy Gunn and a vocal person in the Road Dogg.
Mm-hmm.
They put on great matches against Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Terry Funk. Yeah, that's where I went first. Yeah. They put on great matches with, LOD, with the Headbangers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was just a list who I think that they brought other teams up. I don't think it was just hey, we're a great team and we're getting shoved in DX, so we're going to get shoved down your throat. I think there was just so much potential and so much great work that they did and could do. That to me, I mean, you literally say, oh, you didn't know, somebody's going to finish that line, and it sticks in your head.
Yeah. No, I love them too. And when they were, part of D-Generation X, you would have X-Pac in the mix sometimes, you'd have Triple H in the mix sometimes. They did some great triple threat matches with, alternating those guys. You never knew who was going to run out of the back and save them or whatever, too. China on the ring apron as well. So, it's almost like you got to consider that almost as the tag team itself, but it is the New Age Outlaws. And I agree. I mean, that Attitude Era, I mean, they work very well together. You're right. Billy Gunn is the technician. Road Dogg is the mouth. But Road Dogg could carry his own in the match.
Oh, totally.
Absolutely.
Totally.
And they were very compelling and fun to watch. Very entertaining. So I guess I'm going to keep naming all the big ones. But Hardy Boys. Again, for two backyard wrestlers to make it up as they're going along, the risks that they took were just insane. And I don't know how they sold it to Vince. How they're like, we're going to put our lives in jeopardy every night. I can't imagine the arthritis they have in their bodies from the bumps and from the leaps and from everything that they did. We're just fearless, and I guess still are in a lot of ways, But when they were at their prime and when they hit the WWE and they worked that whole program with Lita and all that stuff, I mean, mad respect for the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, Team Extreme, totally. As a matter of fact, they top my list.
No.
Yeah, because to me, there is no better team, and especially to look at the longevity. For two people who, just literally would jump off things, just to jump off things, just for the thrill, and yet they're both still wrestling today.
I don't know how they got past the age of 16.
Yeah. Well, if you look at Jeff's, when they premiered, they were both as jobbers, and were getting beat down by Razor Ramon, but Jeff's still doing the flips over the top rope, and that was 30-something years ago. Roughly.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, and the fact that just watching him jump off of things blows your mind every time, because no one should keep getting higher and higher and higher, and still surviving and walking away.
Those ladder matches, the things that they did, they had to be sometimes, with the ring and everything, they had to be 30 feet in the air.
Yeah. The spear from Edge is one of my favorite bumps ever, because it couldn't have been planned out any better. It literally is perfect. Jeff's hanging from the titles, Edge is climbing up the ladder and spears him right off. And that bump, I couldn't imagine falling 20 feet on my back.
Mm-hmm.
Never would. And Jeff finished the match and then went on the next night and had another match. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They are just absolutely phenomenal.
But that's one thing. The first time they did table ladders and chairs, they go on Raw the next night. It's all gimmick, I know, but they go on Raw the next night, and Hardy Boys are congratulating, Edge and Christian for this great match that they had and everything. And the Doubly Boys, being the true heels they are, they're like, screw that, and they beat them down. You know, everybody's obliterated. You can tell that they are hurting. You know, but but they still did the job. You know, so mad respect for all of them.
Yeah. The Outsiders. I'm only throwing them out there, and this is a hard one for me because I looked at tag teams that weren't necessarily big going into the tag team. I looked at tag teams that could possibly send somebody out, because to me those tag teams are just kind of built and then stuck there. And you're already excited to see Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, but when you throw them together, the Outsiders. But the fact that they could still work the way they did, and I know it's because of their history. They're entertaining. The promo for them against the Four Horsemen, where Kevin Nash is dressed up as Arn Anderson holding a cooler of beer. I'll never forget it. It's hilarious. And that was leading into the Outsiders versus the Horsemen. It was good stuff. Mm-hmm. Again, I know WCW I play a little favorites for, but the Outsiders I think are a hell of a tag team.
They are. My next is Hart Foundation. And you can't, the Hart Foundation isn't just Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart. It's also Jimmy Hart. And I think it's just the perfect mix. Again, Jim and Bret, of course, come from Stu Hart's family, from the Dungeon. Two amazing technical wrestlers, two guys that work great together. I think Jim at that point, we've talked about that before, but I think at that point Jim had way more charisma and ring psychology going on. But Bret was just such a technical master, and so was Jim. And then you've got the perfect manager in Jimmy Hart. He's worked with some of the best wrestlers and helped them continue to stay over, or get over and then stay over, or kept them relevant and everything. And and I just think the three of them worked really well together. I don't think there's necessarily the strongest wrestling going on at that period of time, because they're wrestling against Moondogs and the Bushwhackers and all that stuff. There was a lot of comedy gimmicks going on at that time, but I think they're great, and I think they deserve to be on the list. But we'll fight it out from there.
So my next team is Team Hell No. Daniel Bryan, Kane. They were kind of stuck together because they were a little bit stagnant, not doing anything. But the way it was put together was great. They'd already been successful as singles. Both had the world championship. And to stick them together was super entertaining. The making Kane hug Daniel Bryan in the middle of the ring, absolutely hilarious. The stuff with Dr. Shelby was awesome. And it just gave them both more personality and built a tag team out of that.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. My next one, and it's my favorite. I found this tag team to be the most entertaining of any of the tag teams tonight. I don't think they're going to make the top of the list, but I'm going to fight for them to be on it. I think you're going to disagree with me. The Rock and Sock. I think it was a fabulous gimmick. I think it was a short-lived program, I know. I think they did it intentionally to create a way. It was obvious to launch Rock to become a babyface, okay? But he had to work with Foley, and everybody had to see them getting along after the I Quit match. Nobody was going to buy The Rock with a babyface unless unless Foley forgave him. Foley made him crack up and break character so many times when they were running promos. And I think there were halfway decent matches too. And I just love the way that Foley kept stealing The Rock's gimmick. He stole the people's elbow from him. He stole, the dozens and dozens. It was brilliant. It really was. And I love both of them. And I just think, I think that was a brilliant program. I know it's short-lived, but I love it.
I won't disagree with you too far. Yeah, to me, a lot of the time when I think of tag team, I think of finisher and theme music.
Right.
And to me, that was two guys stuck together.
But that was the gimmick.
I know.
That's the gimmick. We're going to stay because Rock was like reluctantly turned in.
I know.
Yeah.
But that's not finisher or music.
I know, but it worked.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I get it. I wouldn't deny him a spot because you're right. The work they did together was great. The Rock, I think he could have found his babyface gimmick somewhere else, but I think that was the easiest path, and it led to some hilarious moments. I'm a sucker for comedy. Any comedy in wrestling, to me, as long as it's not overzealous or just out of this world, it's great. But then I'm gonna have to backtalk and say, you know, two big guys stuck together, or two stars stuck together, just in the tag team, Brothers of Destruction, Kane and Undertaker. They weren't superstar. Well, sorry, Kane wasn't a superstar as I would see him a little bit later in his career. But when they got together, I mean, like I said, I liked Chronic because of them beating down two big guys beating down people, and that's 100% what the Brothers of Destruction were. And it's two legends, same as Rock and Sock. You got two legends. They're going to do something great. They're going to have some fun, some good matches. They're going to make some memorable moments, and that's why Brothers of Destruction. I mean, they definitely stand out on a tag team list for me.
Okay. Next is almost like The Rock. It was like the first version of Rock and Sock. Yeah, I'll name that. Anyway, Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage.
The Mega Powers.
The Mega Powers. I mean, it was so over the top. It was so much. But then, you know, it really... I'm not going to say it's the first time they really gave Elizabeth something to do, but it made her the most relevant that she had ever been at that point. And they got so much mileage out of it, and it did so much for both of them and everything. It was great drama, and that's back when they're still kayfabing, so they're not admitting. So you're supposed to believe, you know, people really believe that there's actually this friendship, and these, you know, Hulk Hogan's trying to be this friend to this guy who's obviously bipolar and just out of his mind, and you know, everything going on with that and everything. I mean, it was, you know, I think we all watched because of that. Pro wrestling is a soap opera, and that was like the height of soap opera.
Absolutely.
But they also were working some great matches as well. Both of them know how to work so well. I mean, I just think it worked well.
I won't disagree at all. I think what came out of it was better, where they put Savage versus Hogan.
But that had to happen again.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. But at the same
it's almost the opposite, where you took two guys to break them apart with Rock and Sock.
Yeah, totally. So no, I can't argue that because again, the Miss Elizabeth stuff was great. The fact that he tore up a training room, going insane. It led to madness, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I've got to. They won't make the list, but I got to throw them out there. Eminem, Johnny Nitro, Molina, and Joey Mercury. They were in a very crappy time in tag team wrestling, facing people like Deuce and Domino, and just not a lot of great tag teams. They were entertaining. The three of them, just to me, kind of they give off that. God, they're annoying, but you literally want to see them get their tail kicked, and then they win. And it's by some sort of cheating or distraction. But I enjoy the way they wrestled. They had quite a few good matches with the Hardys. There's a ladder match actually. I think it was No Mercy, but Joey Mercury takes a ladder across the face, splits his face wide open. Just absolutely brutal, but he still finishes the match.
Yeah.
Definitely a cool tag team. I want to throw them out there. I know they're not going to make the list, and totally cool with that. But I think they needed a mention for sure.
Yeah. My list is done. I mean, I've got some honorable mentions, so I'd like to just shout out and go over real quickly, but that's it for me. So I've got the Steiners,
Yeah, that was
Rick and Scott. You know, they were great. I just didn't think they quite were great enough to be there. The Moondogs, Spot and Ray, and then Bushwhackers, and then Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas. It was hard for me not to put them on my final list, those two in particular.
really.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think that they were important to that early 80s period of time. And the longevity of it and everything, of the fact that people still talk about it to this day. I know it's mostly because Rocky's The Rock's father.
Yeah,
but they worked great. And I mean, as far as physiques, I mean, they probably had the two best physiques in wrestling ever. You know?
Tony Atlas was
Tony Atlas, no question, but so did Rocky. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So they cut decent promos, and especially for that period of time. And so that's my last shout out.
Cool. I got just a couple more. I know I mentioned Eminem. Same with the Hooligans, Paul London and Brian Kendrick. Two great cruiserweights. They stuck together, held the tag team for quite a while, or tag team titles for quite a while. Beer Money, James Storm, and Robert Roode at the time. A TNA team that just kind of got stuck together, and they made a heck of a run with it. And then World's Greatest Tag Team. Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas came in under Team Angle, worked with Kurt Angle quite a bit because they were new. Both of them just super talented, not the most charisma at all, but definitely could wrestle like crazy.
Wow.
That's my honor list.
Okay. So we're gonna put these together and try to figure out our top 10 now. Like I said, I think they deserve to be on the list. I'm gonna fight for them to be on it, and I'm gonna start. My number 10 is Rock and Sock.
Yeah, I totally could be cool with that because that's where I would put them as 10.
Yeah.
And to me,
cool. Who did you have for your 10?
My number 10 was Dave Yeh. And I do get your points about why you aren't saying they're on here, and I get that.
Yeah, let's set them aside.
There's definitely a lot more people on this list that deserve.
Okay, so we'll set them aside. I mean, I think they deserve to be talked about, but I'm not sure they're going to make the final draft. My number 9 was the Road Warriors, and I don't know if we can set them aside as well if you want, but that's who I saw. You know, I think the longevity of their career, the things they did, they were very innovative, and changed the whole entire look of wrestling overall, in my opinion.
And I'll be honest, I wouldn't be mad about throwing them on there. 9 was SCU for me, Kazarian and Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I got bid on them towards the end because I joined the end of it. But yeah, I would totally be okay because I know they actually made an impact.
Oh, they made a huge impact.
Yeah. My number 8 was Chronic.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about him. My number 8 is Heart Foundation.
Fair enough. I won't argue against Heart Foundation.
Okay.
I don't like them, but that's personal. But the stuff they did,
yeah,
quite amazing.
And then my 7, believe it or not, and don't be, this is my 7, but I think Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. My top 3 is already locked in. If you want to jump to them,
yeah.
But I think we're going to argue over position on those.
Okay.
Because I don't see how the Doubly Boys can't be number 1. I think yours was what, the Hardys. The Hardys, I understand, but they didn't do the things that the Dudleys did.
Yeah, but the Dudleys floundered for a little while. I mean, in WWE, they had a time where
they had to start over and over and over again from the bottom every program they went to. Everywhere they went.
Totally.
And build themselves all the way up to the top and start over again. And every time they took a leap, it worked out for them. But that's only because they're talented. And then again, like I said, I don't think they were necessarily the most compelling part of those matches, but I think they were the most physically important part of the table, ladders, and chairs. If you don't have them there, those guys are dead. Edge and Christian and the Hardys are dead without the Dudley Boys protecting them.
Right. But I can argue the other part of it with the Hardys. Jeff jumped through empty tables.
Yeah.
There was nobody to catch him. He was part of that physicality. And the thing with the Hardy Boys is everywhere they've gone, they didn't start at the bottom.
Okay, but I know you didn't see what they did in ECW.
Right.
The Hardys didn't do anything compared to what they did in All Japan and in ECW. They literally I think Devon fell one night through 6 tables, from a scaffold, match. I mean, again, I'm not taking anything away from any of them, but that's my number one. You don't have to acquiesce to me, but that's my number one, and I just don't, I don't know. So
yeah,
so let's agree that Edge and Christian are 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Edge and Christian are 3, and then we'll get back to the top at the end. I'll think about it a little bit more. So we're through 8, 9, and 10, 4, 5, and 6, 7. We still need. So we got 4 more teams. I almost would put 2 teams together in one spot, and I think it's acceptable because of who they are. It's the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. I would give them slot 7, and because you can't have it's like Reese's peanut butter cups. You can't have chocolate and peanut butter without the 2 of them. They don't mean anything apart hardly, but together they're as important as anything. Right. So I would
before you do that,
okay,
because I think when you say that, actually it's funny. I assumed you were going to combine our 2, the Freebirds and the New Day. I think the New Day could go below the Freebirds. I think they're a big part of modern day wrestling.
Okay, so New Day at 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the combination of the 2 at 6.
Freebirds, Von Erichs at 6. I'm happy to move them up 1 because those were my guys when I was a kid.
But to me, they mean nothing.
No, I understand.
And I hate saying that.
But early 80s wrestling, dude. We watched them on, Saturday night. That was real. That was actually, to me, to all of us, it was actually happening. We watched all those guys damn near kill each other. Well, they almost did, too.
And that's why I say the New Day there, because I know that without the Freebirds, there is no New Day ever.
Well, the last one I would argue for, and then I'll give you one of the other spots, is the New Age Outlaws. And I think they can go 4.
That's 4.
Yeah.
That's not, I wasn't even close to, that's not who I thought you would do. But.
Yeah, I love that team. It was a great team. Like I said, you just brought them up first. So who would you put in at 5?
Harlem Heat.
It's your. I said I'll give it to you, so we'll put them down.
But tell me who
you. Terrible thing.
Tell me who your 5 is.
My 5. Well, that's because I combined the 2 too. Because my 5 is Freebird, the Freebirds. All of mine are on here. The Heart Foundation, the Road Warriors, Rock and Sock, the Von Erichs Freebirds, Edge and Christian, and Doubly Boys. So I actually snuck all my top 10 is intact.
Well, but that's the thing is I had Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys, New Age Outlaws, Edge and Christian, Harlem Heat, New Day. That's my top 6.
I'm not as big a Booker T Mark as you are, and if Booker T's fine. He's fine.
I was a WCW guy.
I got you. No, you're right. I might argue the only ones I could think of that I might consider more than them, but I'm not gonna take away like the British Bulldogs, the Steiners maybe. Like I said, I put them down as they didn't even make my final draft.
Can I propose something?
Sure.
What if we moved everybody up?
Okay.
I think.
And you want to put somebody down to 10?
We don't have enough modern.
Okay.
I think we see the 80s, 90s. That's a great era, but there are some good modern day teams.
Okay.
And I think Motor City Machine Guns falls in that category. 2 great wrestlers. I already argued it. I don't have to argue it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm cool with that. I'm totally fine with that. Then it makes sense for me to put them at 10. Brings all my cream all to the top. So now
it is.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I don't know. I guess I got to convince you, and you got to convince me, but I don't know how.
I don't think we'll get.
I don't know how to get to the end of this because. We've already got one tag or one tie, I guess, with the Freebirds and the Von Erichs.
And the bad part is every time
20 tag team titles. Look at all the programs that they worked.
That means they lost it 19 times.
Yeah. They were able to get over the WWE, the ECW, WCW, TNA, NWA, IWCP, and All Japan.
Let me say one thing. Can you?
Okay, This is why the Doubly Boys win. This is the one thing they got over them.
Feel free.
Mic skills.
Total. No way.
Who's better than Bubba?
But Bubba, okay, but you're talking Bubba, and then you're talking Matt, and then Jeff, and then Devon.
Devon, I'll give you. But Bubba, who's better on the Hardys than Bubba?
Bubba's the top one of the match, but at the same time, I think the Hardy Boys wrestling skill overshadows them.
Jeff over
Devon?
Well, yeah.
You said yourself, Devon was the...
No, Devon as far as... He's the Billy Gunn of that team.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I mean, look at Reverend Devon. It flopped.
I'm not defending Devon. You don't have to convince me Devon sucked on the mic.
But what I'm saying is that
Bubba, if you look, you will not laugh harder or have more, oh my God, I can't believe he went there moments. If you watch the promos that he cut in ECW, just talking to the crowd, like I said, his final, their retirement match or they're leaving the ECW, that was insane. They came back to the ring like 3 times that night and just kept beating the shit out of beating everybody up. I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, I don't know. I don't think as far as ring psychology, the stuff that was happening in the back, that they would bring, you know, the wraparounds that they would do from the back and everything, I just don't think, as far as overall, I didn't find another, of those 3 teams, because like I said, I think Rock and Sock were the most entertaining of all time. I just don't think that anybody was more entertaining than Bubba Ray and Devon. You know, he had to get those tables. He had to get the tables.
I know, but I just look at the ring stuff. I mean, you said it yourself. There was comedy of the falling forward, the flailing around. I mean, look at a Hardy Boys match.
You're right. Okay.
Look at a Hardy Boys match and go, holy shit. I mean, look at the...
No.
Yeah.
I'm here to say you just convinced me.
Really?
That alone, that bringing out the fact that the corniness of that part of their gimmick, it's I can't defend it. It's awful, and I can't say that they did anything as corny and awful as that. So I'll concede. You did it.
And the one thing with the Dudleys, when you watch a Dudley Boys match, you've seen 90% of that match before.
Nah,
Really? You don't think so?
I think what they did together, the 3D, some of the other things that they did in cooperation. But I think overall, again, with the ring psychology, with what was going on, and I don't think you can hear Devon get the tables enough.
Oh no,
I'm not saying it's the only thing that they did. I'm saying there definitely was, and that was a problem with a lot of the ECW wrestlers, is they got stuck in parts of their gimmick. Rob Van Dam was real bad about that too.
His
other
match recorded.
I mean, all of them, even CM Punk for that matter. Stevie Richards, I mean, all of them. I'm telling you, I mean, we'll talk. We can discuss that another night. I'm telling you, but it's something that they got stuck in. I don't know if that's the Paul Heyman effect or what, but they definitely went to the well way too often. You know, going back and over again over the same type of material. So that's why I'll go ahead and give it to the Hardys, because I don't see that and hear that and feel that about the Hardy Boys. I see it, hear it, and feel it about the Dudleys.
But to me, like the thought with the Dudleys, going back to those matches, I can tell you they're going to do the scoop slam into the crotch headbutt.
Right.
They're going to do a double flapjack. They're going to do the 3D. They're going.
No, you're right.
And you can almost call those matches just as quick. Matt and Jeff, I felt like there was an innovation almost all the time.
And when they worked with Edge and Christian, I agree that those were probably way more improvised and called in the ring rather than
and super smooth.
Absolutely. You win. I'll go with that. So we got number 1 the Hardys, number 2 the Dudleys, number 3 Edge and Christian, number 4 the New Age Outlaws, number 5 Harlem Heat, number 6 the Freebirds and the Von Erichs, number 8 the Hart Foundation.
You skipped 7.
Oh, number 7 is
New Day.
Number 8's the Hart Foundation. Number 9 the Road Warriors. We screwed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, Harlem Heat we never officially put at 5. No. So our top 11 list is number 5 Harlem Heat, number 6 Freebirds, and the Von Erichs. Number 7, New Day. Number 8, Hart Foundation. Number 9, the Road Warriors. Number 10, the Rockin' Sox. And number 11, Motor City Machine Guns. So there it is, our top of 10 plus 1. So we made the 11 list. You know, you got to have an 11 button in life sometimes. So there it is. Appreciate you guys watching. Please follow us on all formats. The link is going to be up with all that information for you in just a second. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please give us some comments. Let us know what you think. If you got some other topics you think we should dive into besides wrestling, because we're going to do some other things besides wrestling in the near future. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll check you out next time.
Hey Allies, it's Delaney. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button to help us grow. Also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for some amazing content. And lastly, make sure you watch our amazing Facebook Live sales.